alive. I think we're live. I like to think we're alive. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Never thought. Oh, yeah, we are live. And I had a deep voice. Write no names on a wing and a prayer. Who can it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. I'm sorry, guys. Good morning. Of course, I'm acting a nut, so apologize. I'm just trying to get some sharing out the way before we get started. I don't know why I started singing that song. So I definitely apologize, folks. Give me 1 second. We'll get started very soon. As soon as I get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right, we're about as good as we're gonna get. All right, so let me go ahead and get into this, guys. So today's date is May 23rd, 2020, and this is how the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. On how the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before I do get started, this is an adult podcast, which means adult language will be used and things that are disturbing but graphic nature may be shown, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. Hopefully, guys, like I said, it's a Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, right? You should be happy. You should be thrilled. The reason being is, well, basically, we begin the opening. Memorial Day weekend, there are going to be some cities that are going to be easy restrictions on you going out. Let's be honest, Memorial Day weekend, pretty much the unofficial start of grilling season, so we shouldn't be surprised if people are going to be going out anyway. Even though right now, we're still, right now, the precautions still being taken are put on a mask, stay 6 feet away from each other, do the social distancing thing, but let's be honest, it's not really going to happen, especially here in Tennessee. But yes, all 50 states are now taking steps to ease states from restrictions. That includes reopening beaches in some states for the weekend. Although it has nothing to do with the simple fact of the matter is, hey, let's make some money while people want to go out from having a case of cabin fever. But again, if you are going to go give it, let's try that again. If you are going to exercise caution in going out this weekend, especially in days where, especially in this day and age, where the coronavirus is still out and about, please take precautions as far as going out, things of that nature. Just because the fact of the matter is, we have seen when large gatherings happen, cases increase. I cannot say that enough. Especially for the simple fact of the matter is, there is yet to be a successful opening of a city when every city, whenever they announce businesses were opening or if they announced that they were releasing something, there's always been an increase of COVID-19 cases. Now, if you're like me, I don't go out unless I absolutely have to. I'm sorry, that's just me. Even on cheat day. Cheat day is essentially a food run for me. So the only time I go out is to get food. 9 times out of 10, my ass is in the house. I feel no reason to go out. If I want to go outside, I wouldn't go outside if they were pressure washing my apartment. But again, that's a whole other story. But yes, if you are going to go out, now would actually be the time to be taking precautions as far as taking things out, because as people are going to be going out, and trust me, there's nothing in this world that's going to stop people from going out, the cases are bound to increase, the second wave infections do happen. However, let's also look at the business side of things. I wonder if things have gotten better on the job side since coronavirus came. The coronavirus is still going strong.
Almost half of all adults have either lost income or have someone in their household who has, according to a new government report. All told, more than 38 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits in just the last 2 months. CBS's Mark Strassman reports tonight from Florida.
Florida is a tough place to be jobless.
There's nothing yet.
Donald Estrada is a laid-off maintenance man in Miami. He's owed 6 weeks of state and federal unemployment benefits. Look at his bank balance. 66 cents.
Every time that I wake up in the morning, I say, well, the owner of the rent of the house, they're going to kick me out.
Florida says its processing of unemployment claims, sluggish for weeks, now stands at roughly 88%. But payments are lagging and among America's least generous. Massachusetts pays the most, up to $1,234 a week. Florida's maximum, $275 a week. Michelle and Steve Dunwoody applied for benefits 6 weeks ago.
Zilch, nothing. Is absolutely nothing. It's appalling that it has to take this long.
He's a sales rep, she's a pre-K teacher. Solidly middle class, a household income of $90,000 until 6 weeks ago. He was furloughed, their bills dwarfed her salary.
I would say we're on the edge. That's the best way to describe it.
How stressful?
It's very stressful.
Well, you wake up with it. You wake up with it, you go to bed with it.
Hope looks like one more thing Donald Estrada can't afford.
I feel like I'm a miserable person. I never think that I'm gonna happen this situation in this country.
Most Florida businesses are now in phase 2 of reopening. Bars, restaurants, and gyms, groups of up to 50 with social distancing. But nearly another 250,000 Floridians filed for unemployment last week.
And to think, that's just one state. But I do have a theory about those states because they did mention Massachusetts and Florida. Massachusetts is more of a Democratic state, or a blue state as they call it. Florida's a red state. Now, I have been saying this for years, and one day I'm going to pull up a map to actually prove this point. But pretty much every red state does poorly. That means Tennessee, Alabama, pretty much the South, actually. That all these poorer states, Mississippi, Kentucky, even Florida, where the economic payments are so low that it almost makes you wonder how people are able to survive off this. And at the same time, again, with the blow up of unemployment, it just goes to show you that our economy is not that freaking great. We are literally 1 or 2 paychecks away from being in poverty. So when I say the economy is great, it's really bullshit. So again, there's no way actually to solve this except, for a lot of people. So a lot of people who are still waiting on their I call them Dorito checks. I refuse to call them Trump checks because Trump has to literally have his name on everything that he gives to people for vanity. But unfortunately, there are still, even though 140 million people have received their Dorito checks, there are still another 10 million out there who haven't. And the reason being is because you guys are about to get the what they call EIP cards. That's right. You're not getting a check. You're not getting direct deposit. You are literally going to get a loaded prepaid card with your $1,200 or whatever amount you're holding or whatever amount you're going to get. That's right. You're going to get an actual debit card. And a lot of people are probably wondering right now, why the fuck am I getting a debit card? Well, the bullshit reason that they gave was that either that you did not have a bank account on file, or that you did not have a tax refund they could find, or just any of the other reasons they just wanted to send you a debit card just for tracking. So, in this case, those 10 million taxpayers are probably going to be receiving a card that looks just like this within the next coming weeks. And I thought to myself the entire time, this is just a nice little way of tracking your payments. I mean, I don't mean to go conspiracy theorist here, but that's a nice way of tracking your payments. But the simple fact of the matter is, there are interested parties out there, and I'm going to go ahead and call it. They're conservatives. Conservatives always love to basically see what people who are doing less than they are doing. Keep in mind, not too long ago, remember the food stamp debate about people getting drug tested just to get food stamps? Think about that. I'm hungry, I'm starving, I don't have a way of feeding myself. I'm asking my government, who I pay taxes to, for a little help. And the government turns around and says, great, we can help you. Pee in this cup. For what? Oh, we just to make sure you're on. We just to make sure you're not on drugs. What does me being on drugs have to do with putting food in my kitchen? And keep in mind, that whole idea got shot down just because it bared no fruit. But then again, it was conservatives who were pushing the whole idea of drug testing for food stamps because honestly, they wanted to make another company rich because the drug testing company who was actually behind the drug, who was actually doing all the testing, guess what? Gave kickbacks to Congress, mostly conservatives. So again, we shouldn't be surprised now that, why is this relevant? It's relevant just because the simple fact of the matter is that now they're trying to do the same thing, this economic payment debit card bullshit. Just give the people the money. But then again, let's also be honest. Americans are going to get the same type of help that Wall Street gets, and Wall Street got 1.5 trillion and still gets a blank check. But again, we shouldn't really be surprised by that. But what we should be surprised about this weekend is this next video, where I'm almost certain this is going to be, like I said before, with the coronavirus still running loose out there, my home state of Tennessee is going to be a hotspot, and this is why.
Coronavirus war room, disturbing news that ICU beds at hospitals in the state capital are full.
Right now, if you're from Montgomery and you need an ICU bed, you're in trouble.
Tonight, cases in Alabama continue to climb, now more than 13,000. Baptist Health System in Montgomery has 54 patients on ventilators. Doctors at the hospital at the University of Alabama Birmingham now on alert to take the overflow.
The virus is not gone. The virus is still out there. This is a smart virus that spreads very easily from person to person.
Montgomery and the rest of Alabama began reopening 10 days ago, and data from the policy lab at Children's Hospital at Philadelphia predicted it was a spot to watch. You're doing a prediction. It's not 100%, but do people accept what you're predicting?
Well, it's sort of like a weather forecast. I mean, we're projecting out 4 weeks, but it's helpful in guiding you what may happen over the next couple of weeks.
The newest Philadelphia model is now forecasting hotspots in Houston, Dallas, and across Tennessee. Another hotspot here in Florida with more than 48,000 coronavirus cases, with some beaches and restaurants now open and a busy Memorial Day weekend ahead, fears of a dangerous mix. Despite the urgency in Alabama's intensive care units, late today, Governor Kate Ivey announced the easing of even more restrictions starting tomorrow. Kerry Sanders, NBC News.
Yep, can you say disaster mix? I mean, keep this fact in mind that the one state that's actually below us is getting overloaded in one city. And they're about to lower restrictions on other things, such as businesses and gyms, which only add to the freaking mix of everything. And you remember how I sat there and said that Tennessee's a possible hotspot? Keep in mind, Governor Lee out there wants to ease restrictions to the point to where businesses are open. They want to increase social distancing to larger crowds of 20 people or more. And let's be honest, if you're in downtown Nashville, you're only there for either three things. Some odd reason, still country music. Number two, you're there for the social scene because of all the bars. And number three, for a sports event, which, no offense, most bars do depend on sports events. It's just that now it's just a recipe mix for disaster. And let's just say at the Memorial Weekend, I do see a lot of people going out. I do see a lot of people grilling. And, it still can be done. But I fear that some people are going to take the closeness a little bit too far, and that's how the cases are going to increase. Needless to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee's COVID-19 cases increase after Memorial Day weekend, because it just seems like it's bound to happen. But speaking of things that are bound to happen, of course, I did talk about my last podcast that the Democrats are preparing a HEROES Act in the same way of the CARES Act, but doing a little bit more as far as more money goes. And of course, Republicans have literally shot this down. So, well, the simple fact of the matter is, I wouldn't be surprised that Representative Tim Ryan had this to say regarding their response to the current plan.
Party says, we don't have any money to help you. Are you kidding me? I've got to tell you, this is absolutely unbelievable. Just a few years ago, the stock market's at 25,000. Corporate profits are the highest they've been in decades. The rich keep getting richer. And our friends on the other side said, what do we do now? Let's do a tax cut where 83% of it goes to the top 1% of the wealthiest people. Fast forward a few months, global pandemic, 36 million people unemployed, 40% of families who have a worker that makes $40,000 a year or less lose their job last month. 4 million people didn't pay their rent, and the Republican Party says, we don't have any money to help you. Are you kidding me? Where do you guys live? Food lines around the blocks at our food banks in the United States of America. 1 in 5 kids are going hungry. Your party can't even get food to them. This isn't a wish list. If it's a wish list, it's for the working class people. How about the Teamsters that are going to get a pension when this bill passes?
Gentleman's time's expired.
Their pension gets cut in half.
Gentleman's time is expired.
This is ridiculous.
Gentlewoman
You're turning your
from New
backs
York
on the American
reserves.
people.
The gentleman
Let's
from
be honest.
Oklahoma is recognized.
It still reads like the Speaker of the House pasted together some random ideas from most liberal members and slapped the word coronavirus on top of it.
Okay, so I love, and I don't know, for people who've seen Roger's comments, I know we'll always disagree with that. It's okay, but but you know what you can't disagree with? You can't disagree with facts, and you cannot disagree with history. I've always said it best. Republicans are always the first ones to cry about adding more deficit to the bill. And the fact of the matter is, and history has always proven, that conservatives, mainly Republicans in the GOP, have added more deficit to the overall debt, to overall U.S. all debt, than any other political party. Don't believe me? Think about some fact of the matter. The most recent tax cut, as I just point out in the Now This section, the most recent tax cut will add $1.9 trillion to the U.S. debt over the next 10 years. Keep in mind, 1.9 trillion. That is actually higher than the Obama administration, higher than the Clinton administration, not even close to when John F. Kennedy was president. But you know who was? Nixon. Nixon's tax cuts were almost inequivalent. If you take out inflation and things of that nature, Nixon's tax cuts would be just as equivalent as Ronald Reagan's is, as just they would be equivalent to now President Dorito. Now, what do those three things have in common? They're all conservative. And don't get me wrong, I would love for somebody to prove me. I would love to have some discussion on that. But again, it's always the other side, the chicken hawks, as I like to call them, will always sit there and scream about, oh well, we can't do this. This will add more money. This will add more to our debt. But you just gave Wall Street 1.5 trillion. And this is why I sit there and say, to all of Kentucky, this election year, do us a favor and kick out McConnell. McConnell is the wall that Dorito wanted so bad, because none of the bills, keep in mind, there has yet to be one single Democratic posed bill to go past the Republican-controlled Senate. There are literally, at this point, almost close to 2 million bills that were submitted to McConnell's desk that have yet to see the light of day. Because McConnell, because he is the Senate Majority Leader, has the ability to block bills or bring bills to the floor. He has yet to bring forth a democratically encouraged bill. Don't believe me? Look it up. If you could find one bill that was proposed by Democrats, that was voted on in the democratically controlled House of Representatives, somehow got to the Senate, and they approved it, and Donald Trump signed it, I would love nothing more to be proven wrong on that. But trust me, after doing some research, I've yet to find one that says differently. What'd you say, honey? They want to shove us out in the world, risking a good portion of us getting sick, just so they don't push another stimulus. Yeah, pretty much. They would rather. That just tells you that what that just tells you, Kelly, is that just tells you that America is an extreme capitalist society. That they will always take care of those who kick back to them, but for those who don't pay them, they'll rather shove us out there and have us continue working, because the rich still are going to get, the rich need to get their money. You know, the mistress still needs a BMW, and that's the truth. I mean, instead of other countries like what Canada has done. And I keep on using Canada as a wonderful example. Canada had the coronavirus hit. They turned around and said, okay, we know people can't work. We know that, people are going to be stuck in. We know people still got bills. Let's post a national moratorium on utility and rent payments. And let's also give every Canadian $2,000 a month for the next foreseeable couple months, as long as the coronavirus is still hitting. They got that done in a matter of hours, and people started receiving payments as soon as like 24 hours after that passed. Canada, about as big as the US, they got it done. And yet, we still have that problem. Because the US economic machine, which Republicans always love to scream about the invisible hand behind the free market, there is not an invisible hand. It's a red hand. And this red hand is pretty much slapping you on the ass saying you need to go back to work because we need money. But speaking of things that other people should, really keep their mouth shut about, as far as spitting out incomplete facts, of course, Dorito has been making the rounds, especially talking about his love for the drug hydroxychloroquine. And, I decided, for all those that don't know, let's take a step back in history and see how this all started.
Chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine, the hydroxychloroquine, hydroxychloroquine. I happen to be taking it.
Hydroxychloroquine?
I'm taking it, hydroxychloroquine.
Is there any evidence to suggest that, as with malaria, it might be used as a prophylaxis against COVID-19?
No, the answer is no. The information that you're referring to specifically is anecdotal. It was not done in a controlled clinical trial, so you really can't make any definitive statement about it.
Hydroxychloroquine is a very powerful drug for certain things, and it's a very successful drug. There's reason to believe that it could be successful here. I hope they use it because I'll tell you what do you have to lose? In some cases, they're in bad shape. If it were me, in fact, I might do it anyway. I may take it, okay? I may take it. And I'll have to ask my doctors about that. I think if anybody recommended it other than me, it would be used all over the place, to be honest with you. I think the fact that I recommended it, I probably set it back a lot.
Did the White House doctor recommend that you take that? Is that why you're taking it?
Yeah, White House doctor. I didn't recommend. No, I asked him, what do you think? He said, well, if you'd like it. Yeah, I've taken it for about a week and a half now, and I'm still here.
Now that's honestly saying a lot, personally. The simple fact of the matter is that he's, of course, hydroxychloroquine, which another thing I want to point out. Any president that can't pronounce something is telling you to take it, you need to avoid it. I mean, I've never seen a president gets hydroxychloroquine. Dude, you had to say it so slow that you didn't even believe the words you were saying. And again, with hydroxychloroquine, it is literally one of those drugs, like it says at the end of the video. It's used to treat malaria, lupus, and arthritis. However, it is not. The funny part was there was a study that was done. Keep in mind, there was a study that was done and done properly, and the results of that study. Keep in mind, 200 people took hydroxychloroquine, 5 people died, and the other 195. Were showing no changes. So again, and many doctors, most of the entire medical group out there, the medical consensus is hydroxychloroquine is not a COVID-19 cure. But then again, when it comes to Dorito, he can't do anything else but double down.
Hydroxychloroquine could cause serious side effects, especially with the heart.
Yeah.
Why is it okay for you to promote the use of this drug when you're not a doctor and outside person?
Well, I've worked with doctors, and if you look at the one survey, the only bad survey, they were giving it to people that were in very bad shape. They were very old, almost dead. It was a Trump enemy statement. Now, if you look at some of the reports that came out from Italy, that came out from France, that came out from a lot of our frontline workers take it because it possibly, and I think it does, but people are going to have to make up their own mind. Plus, it doesn't hurt people. It's been out on the market for 60 or 65 years for malaria, lupus, and other things. I think it gives you an additional level of safety, but you can ask many doctors are in favor of it. Many frontline workers won't go there unless they have the hydroxy. And so, again, this is an individual decision to make, but it's had a great reputation. And if it was somebody else other than me, people would say, gee, isn't that smart? But we are working on a lot of other things. We have, I'll tell you what, the great medical companies that we have, if you look at what they're doing therapeutically, cure-wise, and the vaccine itself, and the vaccine, I think, is less important than some of the things they're working on. They're working on a cure, and we have more than one doing it, and very advanced. They're working on therapeutics, and they're working on vaccine.
Okay, so it's very funny, number one. It's very funny that he turns around and says, well, especially reporters. Now, I'm surprised he's still taking press conferences. So, fact of the matter is, he is sitting there saying, well, it's just because, and he goes down this whole entire list of well, I think that I've been talking to doctors. I know doctors. I've been working with them. Oh, and there's people out there that are not fans of me, that are just Trump haters, that are just sitting there saying this isn't going to work. Oh, and let me not also forget. So the studies have been done on older people, elderly, the almost dead people, and I literally sat there and I almost want to. I cringe. I cringe. I can't stress enough. I cringe just because he sat there and said that. Like, how much unmitigated gall do you have to sit there and literally bullshit your way to having people take a drug that's literally been proven completely unsafe and practically dangerous? How in the blue hell could you sit there and say with a straight face? But then again, Dorito's a con man. He is a con man. I think that is one of those things that just needs to be said and be done with because he truly is a con man. In fact, the company he's talking about, AstraZeneca is the company he's talking about because they said in recent news that they can for the $1 billion, they call it a grant. Really, it's a kickback. For the $1 billion grant they received from the White House was to develop a COVID-19 cure, which they turned around to there and said that they will be able to produce it worldwide by the end of 2020. Now, for any of those that are not in the medical field, will sit there and tell you that a vaccine or cure for any type of disease can take years. And yet, Dorito thinks in the world of make-believe that we can just come up with a cure out of nowhere. And you have a company that just got $1 billion that have just basically guaranteed that, yes, we'll be able to come up with this cure by the end of the year. The only thing I see is exchanging hands is money and broken promises. That's just me. But speaking of other things that Dorito has said was crazy, along with the fact that he's easing restrictions, I'm sorry, not that he's easing restrictions, but states are easing restrictions, Dorito is actually pushing for something else. He is actually pushing, well, it's just best that you actually see it.
At my direction, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is issuing guidance for communities of faith. I want to thank Dr. Redfield and the CDC for their work on this matter and all the other work they've been doing over the past what now seems like a long period of time. Today I'm identifying houses of worship, churches, synagogue, and mosques as essential places that provide essential services. Some governors have deemed liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential, but have left out churches and other houses of worship. It's not right. So I'm correcting this injustice and calling houses of worship essential. I call upon governors to allow our churches and places of worship to open right now. If there's any question, they're going to have to call me, but they're not going to be successful in that call. These are places that hold our society together and keep our people united. The people are demanding to go to church and synagogue, go to their mosque. Many millions of Americans embrace worship as an essential part of life. The ministers, pastors, rabbis, imams, and other faith leaders will make sure that their congregations are safe as they gather and pray. I know them well. They love their congregations. They love their people. They don't want anything bad to happen to them or to anybody else. The governors need to do the right thing and allow these very important, essential places of faith to open right now for this weekend. If they don't do it, I will override the governors. In America, we need more prayer, not less. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the problem. You know what the problem in America is? We don't pray enough. You know, not the simple fact of the matter that you got corrupt men in areas just doing ungodly things for their own personal greed, but hey, we can pray. I'm sorry. I didn't think, you know, every time I think Dorito can't do anything else, it's like, well, anything else dumber or more extreme. He literally goes, hold my McDonald's fries. And he goes and does it. I'm sorry. Which part of church is an essential business? Church is an essential service, so therefore churches should be open. You do realize the last church service that had their full service, practically everybody there was infected with COVID-19. And now this fool is turning around there saying, well, we need churches to be open because they're essential. Churches are, I'm sorry, let me point this out, and I'm probably gonna lose some viewers as I say this, but it needs to be said. Church is a lot of things. I understand church can be uplifting for people. Church can be a sanctuary for people. Churches themselves can literally be a place of sanctuary and reflection and all that good stuff. And if it helps you out spiritually, hey, knock yourself out. Church is a lot of things, but it's not an essential service. For the simple fact of the matter is, some churches have actually gotten around not being in buildings. Some churches have had Zoom meetings. Some churches have had Facebook Live services. Some people have gotten smart and had drive-up services where everybody stays in their car and the preacher is standing outside on a podium by himself with a speaker and he's preaching. There are more innovative ways of having church, and I'm not knocking that. But the simple fact of the matter is, he is simply saying, well, we need to reopen the churches because that's what America needs right now. No, America needs to get rid of fucking you. For a start, you need to go. But at the same time, he goes, well, I know people love, and I love how he sat there and said, because you saw how clearly he said, well, people love their churches, their congregations, and they love their mosque. I was like, oh, dude, you are just, I mean, you're covering every side of it, but at the same time, it's really not worth it to sit there and say it, considering the fact you have a Muslim ban that's still going on right now. And you're going to sit there and say people in the mosque need to worship? I was like, well, that's very hypocritical of you. At the same time, it's like, well, if the governors don't do it, I'm going to override the governors and I'm going to make it possible. Who in the blue hell is screaming they need to go to church this bad to you. Except the preachers and pastors that basically make money off you, because let's be honest, anybody associated with the Dorito train gets fame and gets on Fox News. Don't believe me? Look at that one guy from Relentless Church that nobody had never heard of anymore because he done got strung up. At the same time, everybody else that is associated with him, like I said, his own personal religious leader, that crazy nut. You know the saying, crazy nut that said, give your stimulus, whatever stimulus you do get, you need to give it to God through their church. Are you freaking kidding? What do you guys say? He needs to find a church to go to. When was the last time he stepped into one? He never has, Messiah. You do not need to go to an actual building to worship. You can worship whatever you are, as we have been doing. That's just another stuff for his re-election. Yep, so is the farm bill out. When he said, hey, Alex, let them go to a church and have their Kenneth Copeland blow all over them while he tries to blast his fire wind to kill COVID-19. We might get another meme song out of it. For all those that don't know what I was talking about, and apparently you had to be under a rock, Kenneth Copeland sat there and went, COVID-19, I blow you away with the wind of God. And I'm sorry. When I saw that, and I did post that a while back, to see COVID-19 try to literally to see Kenneth Copeland try to blow COVID-19 away with the wind of God from his lips, was by far one of the funniest things I've seen this year. And we still have another 7 months of this. But yes, the whole idea of church being an essential service is asinine. This is basically going to increase cases, because we've already seen it. We've seen a church tent revival in Louisiana. Their cases increased, and the preacher was arrested for endangering folks. There's also the other guy in Louisiana, the one that that looks a little too creepy. He kind of looked like Joel Osteen, if Joel Osteen was a little bit taller, where you just he always leans over in that kind of stork-like fashion at you, and was talking about stimulus, send your stimulus, because the preachers haven't had an offering in a while, the churches ain't had an offering in a while. No, motherfucker, what you want to sit there and say is you ain't been paid in a while. But again, I digress. But the whole idea behind making church essential service is really just asinine and actually outright dangerous. But he's not. But I don't see him walking that back anytime soon. But moving right along with gears, Biden, of course, potential at this point is all but determined. The Democratic nominee for the presidency Joe Biden, was on the Breakfast Club this week, and well, let's just say he had some very opinionated opinions.
Comments he made about African American voters this morning. Here's what he said on iHeartRadio's The Breakfast Club.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
In a call with the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce this afternoon, Biden said he should not have been so cavalier.
The last thing I want to do, and I shouldn't have been such a wise guy. I shouldn't have been so cavalier in responding to what I thought was anyway, it was, I don't take it for granted at all. And no one should have to vote for any party based on their race, their religion, their background, their African Americans who think that Trump is worth voting for. I don't think so. I'm prepared to put my record against his. That was the bottom line, and it was really unfortunate. I shouldn't have been so cavalier.
Okay, so I had to stop the video there because it goes into the whole thing. Yes, potential presidential pick, Joe Biden, did go onto the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God and sat there and said, well, if you don't know the difference between me, you don't know if you're looking at me and looking at Trump, and you're thinking you don't know who to then you know who to vote for, then you ain't black. Now, a lot of people, mostly black people, did have an issue with this. I'm going to be honest with you. I saw no issue with that. Because here's the thing. I can't get mad. I learned a long time ago, I can't get mad about the fact when it's true. Now, don't get me wrong about Joe Biden. Was he my choice for the Democratic pick? No. I was for Bernie Sanders. I was for Bernie just because the fact of the matter is he represented a lot of what was going on, and I liked the fact of his actions and that he was just willing to really go through the fire for us. And again, nothing wrong with Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a great vice president for Barack Obama. Now that he's coming to his own, he does need to realize, honestly, he's taking the Donald Trump route. And what I mean by that is he's being outspoken, brazen, and honest. Now, the only reason that it works for Trump, and it really only works for Trump because that's his fan base. His fan base wishes they could say half the things he does, or do the half the thing he does, or be able to look like he's successful as he tries to fake as he is. But the simple fact of the matter, in Joe's case, because you're Democratic, you have to be higher than that. But again, that's just me. I saw no problem in what he said. I personally think that he needs to stop talking about he keeps on talking about his personal record. Yes, we know you've extended the voting rights for the 25 years. Yes, we know you've done more on the fact of women and domestic violence, even though Anita Clark would probably have something to say differently about that. We also know about the fact of everything you've done on the Obama presidency. But now I wonder what you're going to do now that you're the head guy. And that's the thing about it. And I'll be honest with you, like I said before, if it came down between him and Dorito, I'll take him. Just because the simple fact of the matter is I know what I'm getting. Someone different than Dorito who's actually going to be a president. Now, is he, like I said before, is he my choice to be president? Absolutely not. But again, this is starting to become, I don't want this to become another Hillary versus Trump situation. Because I still sit there and say, love or hate Hillary Clinton, she was way more qualified in that presidential race against Trump. And yet, a lot of people just didn't want to see a woman as president when it really came down to it. And a lot of people, despite your conspiracy theorists and everything else of that nature, who truly believe that Hillary Clinton is just this overall mob boss that had people killed. Well, also at the same time, considering the fact that DNC did screw Bernie Sanders out of actually being voted properly, did lead to a lot of people not actually voting in that election, in which, of course, Dorito had won. So in this case with Biden, I'm not mad about the fact of what he said, and because the whole thing of what is a white man gonna stand and tell us as black people that you ain't black if you vote for Dorito? Well, I could have found a better way to say it. If you're still voting for Dorito the next election year, you are a fucking idiot, or you're rich. Because the only way because that's who Doritos' true people are, the rich. The people who have profited. For all those like us who have lost money in our stocks and 401ks and things of that nature, the other side has won, especially the tax side. Dave Chappelle said it as a joke in one of his Netflix specials. You think Trump is fighting for you? No, he's fighting for me because I'm rich. And so keep that in mind for my people. We shouldn't get offended. For me, if I had to give a suggestion, we shouldn't get offended about what he said. Because he was bold enough to say it. Now, if it was me, I would add a little bit more sauce on it because there are some people out there who still think Trump is the best thing smoking, and I want to ask him how they're living, personally. But speaking of Biden, the VP search is underway, and it's quite disturbing.
Democratic nominee Joe Biden's running mate is well underway. Biden has pledged to choose a woman for the ticket. Sources tell CBS News he is seriously considering 5 to 8 potential picks, and several high-profile Democrats say they're urging him to choose a woman of color. The former vice president said he expects the vetting process to take at least 5 to 8 weeks, but hopes to announce his decision by July. For more, let's bring in Caitlin Huey-Burns and Sean Sullivan. Caitlin is a CBSN political reporter, and Sean is a CBSN contributor and national politics reporter for The Washington Post. Hi there, Caitlin and Sean. Caitlin, let me start with you. Sources tell CBS News that Joe Biden is seriously considering between 5 to 8 potential picks. Who really is on the top of that list right now?
Well, the team is holding that pick very close to the vest, but we know that people like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Gretchen Whitmer, and several others, Amy Klobuchar, have been kind of talked about as potentially on that list. And we do know from Gretchen Whitmer, of course, the governor of Michigan, she told the Today Show yesterday that she has had an open conversation with the team about the vice presidential pick. She said those are just opening conversations, and she kind of moved on from there. But I think that kind of thing is what distinguishes this process from others that we've seen in the past. And what I mean by that is that we're seeing these auditions for vice president kind of in real time, in the open air, in public, because you have many potential candidates in their day jobs doing interviews, addressing the coronavirus, whether they're governors or in the United States Senate. They have these very public roles. So you're kind of seeing that play out in real time. And Joe Biden, in an effort to run a digital campaign as he has to.
Okay, so let's actually stop right there, because that's just going to go into a whole other area. So the video that you're seeing right there, although it's paused, you see the women right there that are being looked at. So let's go down the road, shall we? I mean, you would think Elizabeth Warren, because personally she would make a great VP, technically she'd make a great president, that's just my opinion, but again, solid choice. Kamala Harris, why? I'm sorry, if you're going to pick Kamala Harris, I'm sorry, for a black candidate, she offered me nothing. Stacey Abrams, also a solid pick. Considering the fact of the matter is, right now she is a young political star. She is pointing out the voting infractions, especially in her home state of Georgia, which in this case are very apparent now because Brian Kemp is a fucking idiot. And again, would be a solid choice, and a woman of color, to what needs to be done in this case, because a woman VP is going to be imminent. But if I had to pick out this one, Stacey Abrams would be my pick. Amy Klobuchar, no. I mean, she's about as bland. I like to call her a mayo candidate, as in mayonnaise, which means she is bland as shit. Tammy Duckworth would also be a good choice. She's a former veteran with a lot of experience, and she had no problem telling Trump off. Also would be a good pick itself. Susan Rice, also another one, who also told off Trump. Also in the Muslim ban when that was actually introduced, would also be a great pick. Gretchen Whitmer is okay, but for the optics of it all, I'm gonna be kind of honest. We don't need a white woman. We don't need a white woman as VP. I said if Biden truly wants to win, because trust me, it is not going to be easy getting past the idiots that voted for Trump. But if Biden truly wants to win, then he's going to have to he's going to need a person of color. And only because of the fact that not only are you going to be supporting the black vote, because again, black people, and I also need to say this before I get to that point, there are some black folks out there, quit with the whole P. Diddy route about, well, we're gonna hold the vote hostage to y'all tell us what you're gonna do for us. That for me, it's asinine. It is. I mean, you're expecting to go. I mean, you should vote. There's a reason why you can vote, and you shouldn't be holding a vote hostage saying, "What have you gonna do for me lately?" Number one, P. Diddy, you're rich. What the fuck do you got to worry about? I would think, for some fact of the matter, you would vote Republican before you vote Democrat to protect your tax shares. That's just me. But again, the whole idea of we're asking candidates what they're going to do when they well, let's be honest, the rest of the world does not care about black issues, or I should say, the rest of the country doesn't. And they can go into, and like I said, that can go into a whole other discussion. But to give a synopsis on that, the rest of the U.S. does not care about black issues. because you can tell because our issues are still notwithstanding from the 60s. Shouldn't be surprised by that. But again, Joe Biden, I'm sorry, between Suzanne Rice, Stacey Abrams, it's really a no-brainer at this point because Michelle Obama is unavailable. I mean, if anybody should be running for presidency, I mean, I can see her and Barack, but I see Obama like, dude, I dealt with this for 8 years. Y'all voted for him. Y'all be cool. I can't see him coming back. I'd rather see him live his best life. But our next last story, for all those that don't know, for the simple fact of the matter is, now in the Ahmaud Arbery case, there has now have been a third arrest, which should have happened on day one.
Third arrest in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, the Georgia man shot while jogging in February. William Bryan is now being charged with murder. He's the man who recorded the deadly altercation on the street. He claims he was a bystander, but Travis and Gregory McMichael, who are also charged, claim Bryan was helping them make a citizen's arrest because they thought Arbery was a burglar. Arbery's family says they hold Bryan partially responsible.
We knew that William Bryan had followed Ahmaud, that he had used his car to block the path of Ahmaud so that he couldn't escape, and that ultimately he recorded his murder in close range.
Earlier this month, Bryan said he was cooperating with investigators but would not say why he was at the scene.
So yeah, in that crazy turn of events, the guy who literally recorded the actual murder of Ahmaud Arbery, which for the intents purposes, it was pointed out that everybody thought that he was just somebody that was watching or witnessing. Oh no, it seems at this point, as reports are coming out, it's just that he was actually involved in the so-called quote-unquote citizen's arrest of this young black man. Again, this should not be surprising because again, for somebody to record it and not get involved was the question on a lot of people's heads was that he just sat there and filmed this and didn't try to get it. It's like his whole defense was, I wanted to release this to see if it would help my case. Oh, it did. It showed that you're an accessory to murder, which again, as things are going out, we just kind of hope that justice will be served in this. Like I said, I'm kind of on the fence about this because it seems that every black life that's taken, the murderer literally either goes free or he gets a reduced sentence. Look at Amber Geiger. Apparently a man's life is only worth 10 years. Everybody else usually gets acquitted, or they usually found him no wrongdoing, or the fact that lethal force was correctly used. So forgive me if I'm seeing now that a former law enforcement officer and his son and a person who had a camera may potentially get away with this just because, let's be honest, they're already trying to vilify the victim. And that's usually their go-to. Whenever a black person's killed, they have to find some way to vilify them to say that their actions somehow led to a trigger-happy white dude putting them down. Tell me if I'm wrong. And you're right, Kelly. If you don't vote, then you can't complain. You're exactly right. But that's all the stories we got, guys, and we're going to go ahead and get on to our feel-good news segment. Like I usually say on How the Frack We Got Here, we do cover a lot of stories. Some of them are doom and gloom. Some of them are just downright, emotionally draining. But it's the weekend, especially this is Memorial Day weekend. Some of y'all might have Monday off. Some of y'all might be working Monday. I understand. But we try to leave you guys out on a good note. Try to actually, get some good vibes, things of that nature. And I try to find stories that are uplifting, especially in the sense that we're trying to help each other do this COVID-19 thing. Which in this case, one church out of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, decided to one church paid $4 million of medical debt for $4,500 for 4,500 people. Now, this project that they're a part of is called Rest in Peace Medical Debt, which basically is a nonprofit group that does actually buy a portfolio of medical debts at a discount, in which they just pay them off, send people these yellow envelopes in the mail saying that they're actually now debt-free. So those 4,500 people right now are literally going to be able to enjoy it because medical debt I'll be honest with you guys, is a mother. And the simple fact of the matter is, it's just like student loans. It doesn't go away. It compounds interest, and it goes from one company to another. So again, it's nice to see that a church, and I know I made fun of churches in the past, but there are actually good churches out there that actually try to do great things. And let's be honest, if they got the means to do it, then great. I just don't expect Kenneth Copeland, Creflo Dollar, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, and all these other celebrity preachers to do the same because, God. But let me stop because I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some people that go to those churches and be like, "You gonna stop talking about my pastor?" Yep, just like I'm not gonna stop talking about Mount Zion because Bishop Walker's a pimp. Aside from that, let me go on to my next story, guys. And I think this is actually pretty cool. Was just that with social distancing and COVID-19 in effect, there are certain things that things that we can't be done, like high school graduations, because of large groups. And so the fact of the matter is, there's no way to distance everybody. But this one school actually got a pretty good damn idea. In New Hampshire, they decided to use a ski lift to actually hold graduation. And I gotta be honest, this is a little bit genius. So what the principal did was that, of course, if anybody's ever been on a ski lift before, the lifts themselves are at least 6 to 7 feet apart. And they're actually going in a rotation. So what he actually did with this actual ski lift, which the owners of the ski lift allowed this to happen for free, he managed to graduate his class of 300 plus students by putting them all on a ski lift and being able to hold the graduation ceremony in the most safest way humanly possible. I'm gonna be honest, that is freaking genius. At the same time, kids were able to still walk or ride, if you will. Because I'm gonna be honest, how many kids these days? How many kids from the class 2020 can sit there and say, I walked off a ski lift, got my diploma, and walked right back on the ski lift, and did it in fashion? I just thought that was pretty cool. And also, speaking of graduation, here's how you know the love of a parent. And I love this story too, because this young woman right here was going to be graduating from Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, and of course they were having the same shutdown issues as far as COVID-19 and everything else. Her father, which is right here, decided that, well, you know what? You did all this. You're gonna be great. You're gonna be great in the medical field. No, we're gonna get you a graduation. So her father decided to set this all up. I mean, they got podiums, they got the backdrop, they got the location, all done at their home, just for his daughter to have the beauty of walking across and receiving her degree. And again, this goes to show you the love of a freaking parent. When they turn around and say, "Oh, I gotta be honest. For a lot of parents, it's like, oh no, we're gonna find a way. We will find a way for you to graduate, for you to walk, for you to take your walk and graduate and earn that." I can't be mad about that. That is the love and determination of a parent right there. That's gonna find a way for you to enjoy your graduation somehow, some way. And the simple fact of the matter is, as a parent, like I said, I'm not a parent, but as time may go on, I may become a parent, and I want to be like, you know what? That's a Dad of the Year award right there to me. It's like saying, oh, I made it possible for my baby to enjoy her graduation, and things of that nature. But again, I thought that was cool too, because never not say a parent is not determined to make their child happy. Especially in that case of watching her walk and receive her degree, which she's going to be an epidemiologist in the CDC, which I think, again, pretty freaking cool. The last story I got, guys, is, of course, is one of hope. One of hope. One of if it was just me. One of if it happened to me, what would I do? Well, a guy in North Carolina wins a $10 million scratch-off ticket. Now, we've all been there. We've all been there. Oh, if I won this, if I won the lottery, if I did this. We've all been there. Again, this guy in North Carolina wins $10 million off a scratch-off lottery ticket. And he sat there, and I love his whole story. I went home, fired up my grill, then I said I might as well scratch my ticket. I looked down and said, whoa. And I love the fact of, I'm thankful, I really am. I believe the Lord saved that for me. He had a reason for me to win this ticket. He's got plans for me. Well, shit, I'd be saying never would have made it too if I was going to take home $4 million. Which out of the $10 million, he did take a lump sum payment of $4,245,009, which he's planning to put it into his retirement account. Not before taking his kids and family on a cruise. And I love the fact that he sat there and said, "I'll still be the same old me." Now, I kind of want to call a little bit of bullshit on that, because I understand. Don't get me wrong. We've all had that dream. We really have. We've all had that dream of, man, if I come up, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but I'm still going to be the same pendejo. I've said that for many years. I would be lying my ass off. If you told me that Will won the lottery tomorrow, now I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I will literally make sure the money is in my account first. Then I'll go stare at it. You know how most people go window shopping? They stare at cars, they stare at pets, they stare at clothes, shoes, what have you. I'll be in front of my computer screen like this. Literally, like that. Staring at the amount and just going, those are zeros and not a negative. Oh, that's mine. I mean, I'll be starstruck. I'm not going to lie to you. We'll be fucking starstruck. And again, to sit there and say that you'll be the same me, yeah, I will be. But job-wise, let's just say the tongue's already going to, my tongue's already loose at the job-wise. But man, you thought I was opinionated now. Imagine when I have a safety net. But again, it's like I said before, we've all played the jackpot games, and I've always, I played scratch offs too. Sometimes won something, sometimes didn't. But at the same time, there's just something about, and I'll still sit there and say this, realistically, a rational person can't spend $4 million in their lifetime. You can't. I mean, I can only think what, as long as you're not buying a castle, as long as you're not buying high expensive cars, as long as you're not, blowing it away at the Cheesecake Factory every day for the rest of your life, I personally don't see how you can spend $4 million in your lifetime. I mean, I always I'll say this and I'll wrap it up. But I'll sit there and say this for the simple fact of the matter: if I won that amount of money, I'm gonna let y'all get. You can take this from me and you can run with it. I like to call it a ridiculous purchase. Now, granted, you should make your money work for you, and you should build up on that, on whatever money you win off the lottery. But every year, you are allowed a ridiculous purchase. Now, what I mean by ridiculous purchase, I mean it is a purchase that you can make and you can't be judged on. Like, if I wanted, I'll be honest with you, if I just wanted a TV that is basically my wall when I walk into the room, like the whole wall is a TV, and I want to be able to sit there and play video games on it, again, that's my ridiculous purchase for the year. Everything has to be sensible and everything has to be essential. Or if I just want, let's just say I want the car of my dreams. Okay, cool. There's my ridiculous purchase for the year. I'm done. So that is reasonable because you should have a little bit of fun with it. Or if you ever want to go on vacation, go to Greece, go to Italy, go to Africa, go to, well, maybe not China right now just because, that whole situation. But, any place you want to go. Again, ridiculous purchase. So I can't sit there and say beyond a shadow of a doubt, again, money itself, when you have, for those, and I say this for those who have struggled and for those who have budgeted, it is very hard for you to spend that much amount of money because in the back of your mind, you're going to be like, this chance will never come again. So I'm not going to waste it. Hi, Margie. A fool and his money will soon be parted. Bible. Also in Casino. But, Margie gonna kill me for that one. But that's really all the stories I got, guys. Like I said, I just wanted to give some good cheer, and now I'm going to look for lottery tickets. So let me go ahead and end with this, guys. Do thank everybody for watching. The scroll above my head is for a Cash App to actually help things get better. Hopefully better things will come along. But if you want to donate to help the show the podcast do better, you're more than welcome to. If you can't donate, then all I ask is that you can like, share, and subscribe, and actually tell people about my show. Because there might be people out there that might enjoy what I'm doing. There might be people out there that may not. That's fine. I am not everybody's slice of peach tea. But slice of peach tea. Damn, that did not sound right. I'm not everybody's banana pudding. There we go. Because some people don't like banana pudding. But again, I just like I said, if you can't donate, that's fine. Just actually don't mind just sharing, liking, let me know you go from there. Then that's cool too. But aside from that, guys, I am not the only cat that has podcasts out there. I'll start with Vaughn. BigBZA Dot has a couple podcasts of his own. All of his podcast shows can be found under his Facebook page at BigBZA Dot, his podcast at his YouTube page at BigBZA Podcast, and his Twitch channel at BigBZA Dot. And his shows are usually the VSTs, which I like to call is a news show. That news could be movies, video games, or trailers he loves to show, interactive show just like mine. He also has Rhythmness, so you can reminisce over the rhythm, in which he goes over albums, the past and the present, and grades to a 4-tier rating system. He also has Random as Fuck, which is a pool of ratchetness we sometimes dip our toes into to take a break from life and have a chuckle. Some bills will make you think, some bills will make you cry, some bills will still probably have me laughing like mine do. Also, another brother from another mother who will hopefully be podcasting sometime today, Thomas Reed, aka Mountain Puncher. We call him, he has his To Be Determined Fitness podcast, in which, if you've seen Thomas, this guy constantly works out. He's probably just itching at the bit to get back into the gym when it's safe. But he loves talking about fitness, workouts, nutrition, things that have worked for him and things that actually may work for you. But all of it can be found under his Facebook page at Thomas Reed every Saturday from 3 to 5, or his YouTube page is number 2, letter T, letter T, letter B, letter D. That's 2TBD. Why? Because we're trying to beat Facebook's and YouTube's algorithms. That's why. And finally, my other brother from another brother, Trace Brown, King Eddie Wayne on Facebook, DJ King Wayne on YouTube, has 2 podcasts of his own. The first one is called The Bump Down, with music, culture, knowledge, and numbers, which gives his inner perspective on the recording industry and new and upcoming artists that he seems to call, but seems to be right about. I call Negro Downs because of that. And also his other show, the Smoke and Truth podcast, in which is in a check your door, no frills podcast. Like I said about Trace, he has a very unorthodox opinion on life, but very insightful. And if you're willing to talk to him, then dagnabbit, he's willing to talk to you, because Trace always wants all the smoke. Aside from my own shows, of course, How the Frack We Got Here is every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. A little bit later tonight, between 8 to 10 p.m., will be the Off Limits Podcast, the podcast that goes there, and I do mean go there, because we do talk about subjects, and any and all subjects, and try to do so in a progressive, civilized manner. Of course, Sunday between 5 to 7 is my Get Bit podcast, my Blurred podcast, in which we cover video games, anime, sci-fi, things of that nature, for blurs, by blurs and geeks, and non-blurs and geeks to enjoy. And of course, the newest addition to my podcast is every Tuesday, which apparently is starting to get a lot more steam because y'all apparently love my stories, is the Burned Out Podcast, which is every Tuesday from 7 to 9. Now, for all those that have probably heard me say it from other people, I am called tech support just because I'm an IT person, been doing it for over 10 years, and I always say I'm burned out, and I always share the stories from those shows, from those experiences, and guys like Alex down here who can vouch for those experiences, and I try to tell them in a three story storytelling manner, just for entertainment. But if it's about you, then you're probably the person I'm talking about. But that Burned Out Podcast is every Tuesday from 7 to 9. Now, all my shows can both be found on YouTube and on Facebook. If you look up the Optimus Podcast, if you look up How the Frack We Got Here, if you look up Get Bit, that's GITBIT, and you look up the Burned Out Podcast, either on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll be able to see every show that I've done thus far. Aside from that, I just have to say again, thank you everybody who's been watching, who's been liking. If you started a watch party, that's great. If you just told somebody about it, that's great. And also, if you like what I did, please let me know. If you didn't like what I did, please let me know. I'm open to equal criticism either way, as I'm just trying to make this platform better for everybody to enjoy. The last thing I will say about How the Frack We Got Here, it's honestly all about staying informed. Like I said, staying informed just means that you're not accepting everything at face value. You're actually going in and looking at the evidence for yourself. Note, I said evidence and not fact. In order to do so, to bring it back to somebody, to inform them, to give them all the facts, to allow them to make up their own mind for themselves, because what we're missing in the society is an informed community. Because an informed community can make a lot better decisions than an uninformed one, because an uninformed one got us trumped, and that's honestly how the frack we got here. Thank you all guys for watching. I certainly appreciate it. If you're watching this live and commented, I thank everybody that's done that or poked their head in. And if you're watching this on the playback, feel free to comment as if I'm here, because I still want to hear other people's opinions. Like I said, if we all get through this, and let me also say this before I get out of here. Let me thank the 911 responders. Thank everybody that worked in the hospitals. I'm talking doctors, doctors, nurses aides, doctors aides, environmental services people. Let me also thank the truckers, UPS, DHL, Amazon, UPS. And let's also thank grocery workers. Basically, if you are considered an essential worker, because honestly, you are the only guys that are keeping the lights on right now, which more things should be given to you. But from a guy who has very little power in this world, I just want to sit there and say thank you and that you are appreciating knowledge. Aside from that, guys, thank you all for watching. This has been another episode. I'm out. Peace.